right, so episode 9 was titled The Road Trip. And this is where we see Jen's ex-boyfriend, Billy, who was he in the episode before that?
I don't remember, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, because episode 8 was called Boyfriend.
I thought he was gone.
And so, so when we ended episode 8, we all thought that he left town. He went back to New York, but surprise, surprise, he didn't leave. Because he somehow heard that Dawson and Jen broke up.
How did he hear that? Because it's 1998 and there's no
social media. There's no
Instagram. There's no Facebook.
There's not even I don't know, like an email chain list at school or something. Like was there even email? Not even email, right?
Yeah, I didn't have. Did I have email in 98?
I
didn't have email in 98. Maybe I did.
I want to say that my family just got internet in 97, like in the house.
Yeah, but it wasn't that, like, all your friends were putting gossip onto.
Right, exactly.
Like, email for me was like a college thing. Like, you have to sign up, you have to get an email
address for school, right? Yeah.
But
so I was confused about that when I was like, how did he hear about it? I don't remember having that reaction when I originally watched it, but it didn't dawn on me that he happened to hear. I'm like,
how did you hear about things?
Did he go to the town center's soda shop and heard the kids talking about it? Like, I don't know how he heard about it.
Yeah, because he's not friends with any of them.
Yeah.
It's not like Pacey called him up and it was like, guess what happened?
Yo, bro, you may want to stick around. So Billy never left, and he manipulates Dawson into going to some club in Providence. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Yeah.
So Dawson does the unthinkable for Dawson, which is skip school.
After he turns in his math homework.
After he turns in his math homework.
Dawson is so lame. I understand why Jen doesn't want to bang him. he's such a pussy.
I can't remember if it's after this episode or what. And we've talked about it before, but Pacey is just like Pacey, I feel like a lot of his character, or maybe not a lot, but a good part of his character is being the things that Dawson's not. He's the voice of reason. He points things out to Dawson a lot. He's like
he's the balance.
Yeah.
He's the one that's grounded in reality, and Dawson has his head in the clouds, which is just real annoying to me. Because he's like such a romantic.
Yeah, and that's how
he's so idealistic, and I'm like,
That's how this episode opens up too. Is that he is like staring out the window, pining and being all sad and depressed over Jen, so I hate to use this analogy during this moment that we're all in, of that Dawson was really acting like a girl. You don't ever hear, this is probably the first time that I've noticed, even back then and even now, where you see a guy, a man, a male, truly be depressed, upset, can't eat, can't do anything over a girl.
Right, he's being very dramatic.
Yeah.
Which
is typically what is written for women.
Yeah, which sucks. It sucks. I think it sucks either way.
I mean, I think men do get emotional like that. It's just it's not something you see portrayed ever.
So like, maybe it's good that they're showing that, like, men are vulnerable too. But
it annoyed me.
Yeah, and I think it annoyed Joey, because she witnessed it and she was like, what is your problem? I mean, she's partially annoyed by it because she's in love with him, so she's like, why are you so hung up on this girl? And she calls him out on it. Why are you so hung up on this girl that
you've known for 3 months?
Yeah, and you like barely did anything with. I mean, they didn't even have sex. They didn't have sex.
Yeah.
Which is not necessarily to say that that's the end all be all in an emotional connection, but
although let's keep in mind that this is high school. Yeah. Everything, even in real life, everything that happens in high school is heightened, is put up under a microscope and appeared to be bigger than it really is.
Yeah, it's high school time.
Right.
Or high school years, like dog years. It's like 3 months is like...
forever.
Is equal to like, a year and a half in like adult time. time.
In adult relationships. In adult time.
I mean...
Yeah, so we can try to keep that in mind. Although Joey seems to think it's bullshit.
She thinks it's bullshit, but I think she sees it from the outside perspective. And he's like, this is a girl that you were hung up on, that kind of jerked you around a little bit, didn't want to have sex with you, and then... dropped you, and now you're beating yourself up over it.
Yeah.
She continues to jerk him around.
Although I will say this, even back in high school, I probably would have said the same thing to a friend. You know, even if my friend was that emotional and that affected by a 3-month relationship, I probably would have said the same thing. I would have been like, you only knew him or her for 3 months. Like, why are you like this?
Yeah. It's easy to say when you're not in it, I guess.
Yeah.
When you're in it, and that's part of Dawson's problem, is that he is so idealistic that he I don't think he's even like pining over
Jen.
What actually was. He was pining over what he wanted out of the situation and didn't get.
Yeah.
He wanted her to be Little Miss Perfect. He wanted her to be like the Virgin
Eyes
Mother.
only for him.
Yeah, and when she was like, hey, this isn't me, and I don't like this pedestal you've put me on, and I can't deal with your shit anymore, he got upset, which is actually pretty typical male behavior, because he was like, here's what I expected to happen, and when I realized that you weren't just a fictitious idea in my head, and that you were a real person with your own ideas, I got mad.
Not so great.
And I'm going to blame you for it, for not being what I wanted you to be.
Yeah.
I mean, that's been my adult experience, so.
Yeah, that's happened to me before as well.
Yeah.
People project all sorts of shit on you sometimes.
Yep.
I want to point out that this episode opens up with a song called Truly Madly Deeply by Savage Garden.
Play it for a long time.
They do play it for a long time. Alright, so I just want to leave that at that right now. So Dawson runs into Billy, and then Billy manipulates Dawson into going on this road trip to Providence to this club. I still don't quite understand what Billy's motives are.
Well, they explain it in the end.
Which was what? Well,
so they go on this road trip. Pacey gets roped in, but Billy lures Dawson in by being like, "Hey, we have something in common. We've both been like dicked over by Jen, so we should go like commiserate at a bar in Providence. And what you really need is to get some strange, like meet some random co-ed college girls, and to get your mind off of it." So they agree to go. What Billy ultimately wanted to happen was for Dawson to hook up with some random chick and
then go tell Jen about it?
Well, for it to get back to them because
Jen?
the internet doesn't exist, but she would find out somehow.
Because after all, Billy was able to find out that Dawson and Jen were no longer together.
Yeah. So Dawson would hook up with some random college girl, and Jen would find out about it, and then be like officially done with Dawson, because Dawson was then like such a
slut.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Which is why I think when they're in Providence, they go to this club. Dawson like figures out, calls him out on it, and then Billy's like, "Yeah, you're right. Okay, peace,
dude."
And like
have fun getting back to Cape Side.
Leaves them like stranded in Providence, and they have to like take a bus.
Yeah, did we figure out did they show how they get home?
Yeah, you see them waiting for a bus.
Oh, okay.
I assume they just take a bus, but apparently it takes them like hours. I don't know what the distance between Providence and the fake town of Cape Town is, but apparently it's a 12-hour bus ride, which doesn't make any sense to me. Didn't we like find out that Cape Side was supposed to be? I mean, we know it's a fake town, but somewhere in Cape Cod area, in the Cape Cod area. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
what does that mean?
So we're talking about Massachusetts, right?
Yeah.
So, all right, first of all, Massachusetts is a tiny fucking state.
And so is Rhode Island.
Right.
Is Rhode Island smaller than Massachusetts?
Wait, where did we say that Cape Side was?
near or in Cape Cod area. I mean, buses can take a long time.
I know, but not...
Especially if you're going on a local.
Because so here's Cape Cod and here's Providence. So...
Just do a quick direction search. And driving time is 1 hour and 22 minutes. 1 hour and
22 minutes. So on a Greyhound, let's say 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I would say like 3 hours tops, right?
Tops. So they leave at night, and then he rolls in the next morning, and Joey's like hanging out in his room being like, where the fuck have you been? And he's like, I haven't slept for 24 hours.
24 hours!
What have you been doing?
Did he not sleep on the bus? I would have slept on that bus.
Apparently he didn't sleep on a bus, and apparently the bus ride was a minimum of 10 hours to get the 74 miles that he needed to traverse. 74 miles. I've biked more than that in a day.
All right, so that's a little
it's dumb.
Little writing error,
So,
I guess.
I guess they didn't think that anybody was going to pull out their iPhone and look it up in 1998 when they laid that little nugget out there. He also, so while they're at this bar, he and this is a common theme in this show, and I'm starting to think that the writers of the show, or the writer, has a thing for older ladies. So Billy encourages him to like pick out a girl,
yeah,
and like go hit on her. So he does, and who he picks out is what's the actress's name?
She does look familiar, yeah. Where else have I seen her?
I was like, where do I know this woman from? And
First of all, Pacey calls her hot, which
she's not.
She's not hot.
She's you know.
No offense. Who is this woman? Did you write it down?
Melissa McBride.
Melissa McBride. Sorry, Melissa McBride.
She's Carol from The Walking Dead.
Oh, I've never watched The Walking Dead.
Well,
I'm sure. I'm probably in the minority of people who haven't watched The Walking Dead. So
Carol from The Walking Dead, that's a badass character.
Yeah.
But in 1998, Carol was 33 years old.
She looked. I don't know how old she was supposed to be in this episode, but she looked like she was our age back then.
When I saw her, because he picks her out and he's like her, and he's like, she's got some like movie shirt on or something, so he's like, he likes her t-shirt and like chats her up, but she looks 30. She looks like a 30-year-old woman.
Yeah.
And I guess
which I guess makes sense. I mean, they're in a club, and Dawson even mentioned in the beginning. He's like, I don't know how I'm going to get in. I'm not 21, or I'm not of age, and I don't have a fake ID, or I don't know if he says that, but he is concerned about how he's going to get into this club.
Well, that's because Dawson is supposed to be like 15,
right?
And
so that's what I'm saying. Like, her being that age makes sense for her character, but for Dawson to try and pick her up is the crazy part.
Right. But Billy also implies that the bar is like a college hangout. And he's like, we're going to go pick up co-ed. So Billy implies that we don't know how old Billy is. Billy to me looks 35.
He has a perpetual 5 o'clock shadow.
Yeah, he looks like a grown man.
And he's starting to get jowls. Like the old man jowls.
He must be, if he's old enough to get into bars, he must be 21, and the fact that he was dating Jen, who is also 15, makes him a pedophile. Nobody addresses that. But I mean, maybe no, it was 98. You still had to be 21.
What were the like sex laws back then? Like, was what he was doing in 98 still considered statutory rape?
Yeah.
Okay. In the state of...
I mean, I don't know.
In the state of Massachusetts?
I mean, maybe not.
Or New York?
Maybe the age of consent was... I don't know.
Yeah.
But it doesn't... I mean, I was that age that year. It doesn't make sense to me. I still remember being, like, 16 and it being taboo to, like, date a 20-year-old.
Well, I mean, that would kind of go along with Jen's, like, wild child,
Right.
life in New York City for her to be dating someone who's inappropriately older than her.
So he implies that they're going to like this bar where there's going to be like college girls, and then
she was like, if she was supposed to play a college girl, she's probably like a TA, like she was in grad school.
She looked 30, and the actress was 33 in 1998. Why did they cast her for that? Like, I don't understand.
Well, that's what I'm like. there wasn't going to be enough character development in her to know if she was an undergrad or a grad student. Like, she could have been a TA and still goes to the local bars or whatever. If she's in, if she's still in college.
I just think the writers have.
I was more
for older young guys getting with older women. Like, somebody's getting off on that because it's a theme so far. Because it happens again, ish, in another episode that we're about to talk about.
Really? What did I miss?
The Friday the 13th episode.
Oh, all right. Well,
I mean, nobody's hooking up there, but they still, like, why are these...
They still did insert an older woman into their little group.
Yeah, like, why do they keep doing that? It's weird.
Maybe one of the writers has mommy issues?
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Is that what that is?
Because they keep inserting a young adult women into their little friend group, and we're fully adulted women, women who are 30-something, and like into their little group of teenagers, and I'm like,
yeah.
When I was a teenager, I didn't hang out with 30-years, and when I was 30, I didn't hang out with teenagers. None of this makes sense to me.
That's a very good observation. I have not picked up on that. So let's talk about Joey's little storyline in this particular episode.
Mm-hmm. Joey gets picked up by
this jock from school named Warren.
Yeah, who is the actor is Eric Balfour.
Yeah,
I know him from 6 Feet Under and Law and Order.
What did he do in Law and Order?
I don't know. He must have had some. No, I think he was a detective for a hot minute.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
You watched all of Law and Order. I thought you would remember him. I looked through, so I saw him.
I watched all of Law and Order SVU.
Oh, okay. I think
or as I like to call it, Law and Order Special Vu.
Special Vu.
Stole that from Saturday Night Live.
He was in 6 Feet Under. Did you ever watch 6 Feet Under?
I didn't have HBO.
I mean,
never had
either.
HBO.
I watched it after I moved to New York, so 15 years ago.
Okay.
I forget how I watched it. Somebody must have given me a DVD or something.
Yeah.
He's barely recognizable.
Really?
I didn't pick up on it at first. There were only some like facial expressions that he made, and I was like, "Oh wait, I know who that is."
Oh, okay.
And then I had to like figure it out.
Yeah, I recognized him immediately as someone that I had seen before in other things, which I thought he was in that. I thought he was in an Offspring music video, but
maybe it was Oasis.
No, it certainly was not Oasis. It was more one of those like loud. I don't know how to describe Offspring music, but just loud and crazy music, right? Wasn't Offspring kind of didn't have a few songs that were just kind of like loud and crazy?
Offspring was like pop punk.
Yeah, I wanted to describe it as punky punk type music, but I didn't know if that was correct. So then I don't really know where I recognize him from, but I definitely recognized him. So he randomly shows up and tries to flirt with Joey. Is flirting the right word?
Yeah, he like convinces her to like let him give her a ride because he's trying to like get some good Samaritan points with himself.
That's what he tells Joey.
Yeah, but then he immediately like.
But after one ride to school.
He makes some comments first. Like, she's in his car for like 30 seconds, and he's like, "Oh, is it cold in here? Or are you just happy to see me?"
Ew.
Like, referring to her nipples.
Gross.
And then, yeah, it just makes some other snide comments, and Joey's like, "What the fuck? Like, I agreed to like let you give me a ride to school, and then you immediately like make some shit comments."
You immediately live up to what I thought you were.
Yeah.
But he goes from one simple car ride to school, and all of a sudden he spread a rumor that they had sex. Like, at what point were they supposed to have had sex? He starts spreading that rumor in school.
Yeah, I guess in his mind, like, enough people saw them like arrive to school together that he could then be like, "Oh yeah, we've been banging. That's why I gave her a ride to school
on a school night."
Yeah.
Banging on a school night. Although that is possible. So let me tell you a quick little in real life high school story. So one of my friends, she was a year younger than me, was in, I want to say, biology class, because that would only make sense for what they were doing in that class. They had taken cheek swabs, and they were going to look at their saliva under the microscope to see what their saliva looked like. And so I'm hearing this from my friend, but it happened to someone in her class. So I don't know how true it is. So this girl like takes a cheek swab, puts it on the little slide or whatever, puts it under their microscope, and she's curious to know what these things that are swimming around in her saliva are. And the professor, or the teacher comes over and says, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's just some like, it's nothing to be concerned about." And apparently the next time they had class, this particular student happened to be out, like sick, or she just wasn't in school that day. And for some reason, the teacher decided to give the class a little public service announcement about how they should be careful of what they're doing before they come to class, because sperm can live outside the body for 72 hours. So don't be giving your boyfriend blowjobs and then come to class. Because she had sperm in her mouth, apparently.
What?
Does that not sound like a real story?
No. I mean, she very well could have given him a blowjob before class, but, like, she didn't drink anything? Like, she didn't...
I mean, sperm are maybe they're just hard to catch, through mouth gargles and tooth brushings, and... I mean, they're going like this, so it's not like she's, like... Is she brushing the inside of her cheek wall? Whatever you call it.
Yeah, all right. Why did the teacher choose to announce this to the class while she wasn't there? Why didn't he just keep that to himself?
Or at least pull that particular student aside and just have a conversation with her.
Yeah, to like call her out while she's not there.
Yeah. Like I said,
it seems unethical.
This happened.
This sounds like an urban legend kind of thing.
Maybe it was, but I mean, I was still in high school when my friend told me about it, so I would just probably just super gullible and believed her.
I mean, who knows?
It's a funny story.
Yeah.
Either way. So either my friend is super creative, which she is, or it actually happened. So kiddies, if you're listening, give your blowjobs on Fridays or Saturdays if your science class is on a Tuesday. It's a good story, whether or not it's true.
All right. So
okay.
This jock tells everybody in school that they slept together. So Jen tells Joey as a retort to spread the rumor that
she's pregnant.
That she's pregnant, and that this jock, Warren, is the character's name. That Warren was like, "Oh, that's your problem, not mine." So that the school will shame him for not stepping up. I found this very confusing. I was once in high school, and girls got pregnant, and I don't remember the guys ever being shamed for it. It was always the women that got shamed for getting pregnant. If you spread a rumor that you were pregnant, you were the one that was going to get the shit for it, not the dude that knocked you up.
Which is kind of like what the teacher pointed out to Joey. On college night, the teacher pulled Joey aside and was like, girls make mistakes, and Joey's like, well, boys make mistakes too. And the teacher's like, well, that's true, but it's normally the girls who get shit for it.
Yeah, or
not the boys.
Deal with the consequences. I think she also meant it's the girl that has to be pregnant and then give birth to a child and care for a child while the guy continues to do whatever he wants. Yeah. Which is true for men in general, even married men. So I didn't understand this tactic at all, but apparently for the show it worked.
It worked, yeah.
So the school proceeded to shame him for not stepping up and being a responsible...
Being a man. A responsible 15 or 16-year-old.
Yeah, who got some chick pregnant that he gave a ride to school.
One ride.
The whole plot line did not make sense to me at all. I was like, why? And then, Jen tells Joey to do this.
And then they somehow get in a fight about it. Because everything always leads back to Dawson. Everything always leads back to Dawson. So Jen and Joey try and like tag team together on this rumor to spread about Warren, and it causes a blow up between them, and it turns into a fight about Dawson, about...
Oh yeah, Jen calls Joey out for being like
in love with Dawson.
Yeah, or like being now that Jen and Dawson aren't together anymore, Joey's
doesn't have an outlet for her jealousy.
Yeah, like now if she's rejected by Dawson, she can't blame Jen.
She can't blame Jen, yeah,
because Dawson's just rejecting her out of his
outright,
own
yeah,
idiocracy. Yeah, so they get in a fight about it. And then, so the mean girl from the
detention episode,
yeah,
the detention Breakfast Club ripoff episode,
yeah,
Abby,
Amy,
that's her name,
Angela, something like that.
I think it's Abby.
Yeah, so she was the one that Joey initially like sort of confesses that she's pregnant to like spread the rumor.
Yeah, the writers are developing Abby's character to be like the school gossip, the one who can spread the rumors the quickest. Like she's the loudmouth.
Right. But then Abby comes back to Joey later, or no, to Jen. To Jen, and is like, yeah, I never actually believed that because apparently Warren dated some chick and like couldn't get it up for her.
What she said was Warren had a soft spot for the ladies in a very unfortunate location. To me, that I didn't understand that line. If I didn't understand it now, I certainly didn't understand it in high school. I understood it as premature ejaculation.
Oh no, I understood it as he couldn't get hard for women.
But she said, "Oh, a soft spot." Oh, that's what you're picking up. Soft spot.
that he can't get hard for women. That I took it to mean that he might be gay.
Warren had a soft spot for the ladies, but what is in a very unfortunate location? That's where I picked up premature ejaculation. Penis. Oh, his penis is the location?
That's soft.
Oh.
For the ladies.
I just thought maybe he was like coming too soon. Like
no, I think he can't get hard for them.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense, I guess. Yeah. So maybe he's gay.
Yeah, he's got a big old softy dick for ladies. And the women are like, apparently his previous girlfriend was like, let's bang. And he couldn't
do it.
He couldn't get it up.
Okay.
But so then Jen tells Joey this, and Joey's like, oh, sweet bit of info. I'm going to use it against him. I still don't understand how it works against him, because then she calls him out on it, and then he's like, oh, well, do you want to go out on Saturday? And she was like, no. And I'm like, what is happening right now? I don't understand any of this. Like, is he still... So, the implication that Abby made was that he couldn't get up for ladies, so... I mean, maybe... I took it as to, like, he's really gay. And that's why he spread this rumor that they slept together, because he
needs to keep up... Well, he mentioned it, too. He's like, I need to keep up my reputation, and you need to build yours.
Yeah, he was like, we can use this rumor together.
Each to our benefit.
Yeah, like you could not be the weirdo virgin, and I could be the stud.
I could just start racking him up.
Yeah, and then she confronts him on it, and he's still like, all right, my bad, I'm a jerk, but I'll make it up to you and take you out on Saturday night. What?
Yeah, that's a weird character that they've just kind of randomly popped in, especially... We don't know if Warren's going to be back. And I feel like that's a lot of character development in such a short amount of time. Like in one episode. And he's not even in the full episode. He's in like 30 minutes of the episode.
Yeah, it was sort of a week.
Maybe not even that much. Maybe
like a week subplot.
10 or 15 minutes. Yeah. I mean, we certainly don't see Warren in the next two episodes. So we don't know if he's going to be back. But
the whole thing was weird.
And the whole thing was weird. I mean, just the fact... From the jump of him rolling up beside her while she's walking to school asking for a ride. I'm like, who is this kid? I felt like the writer just needed to give something for Joey and Jen's character to do.
Yeah.
While the main part of the show was the road trip between the boys.
Yeah. It was a weak subplot.
Yeah.
And then they were like, let's address some common teen issues. Having sex rumors spread about you.
Being pregnant in high school.
Yeah, being potentially gay.
Gay, yeah.
they just like threw it all into like a mishmash that was like oddly dealt with, and then one and done. Joey rejects Warren's date offer by saying, yeah, sure, pick me up after my lobotomy.
That's such a Joey thing to say.
She's so weird. And then that's the last we hear about it. Apparently it just like goes away.
Yeah.
It was weird. It was all weird.
Yeah. All right, so I want to start moving on to the next two episodes, but let's just say that this episode ended with Joey and Jen basically making up over ice cream. They sit together on Jen's porch. Is it Jen's porch? And have ice cream together. Joey brings it over as a peace offering. And then cut to probably, I don't remember exactly how it transitioned, but then we see Joey in Dawson's room, and Dawson comes home after his 10-hour bus ride.
Yes, 10-hour,
and then
74-mile bus ride.
And then the episode ends with that very same Savage Garden song. That's how they open and close the episode. What is it? Truly, madly, deeply. And then we see Joey like whispering to herself that she can wait for Dawson. You know, because Dawson's saying something simply like, "Oh, can I just catch you up on everything tomorrow? Can you just wait?" And Joey's like, "Yeah, I can wait. I can wait, Dawson."
Oh, Joey.
She's looking lovingly at him as he drifts off to sleep after his crazy time in Providence.
It wasn't even that crazy. They were at that bar for like a couple hours. He hits on a 30-year-old woman who's like, "Thanks but no thanks. You're a sweet kid, but go back to high school." And then they take a bus ride home. Yeah.
All right, episode 10. Victoria, aren't you surprised to see that Cliff has returned in episode 10?
Yep. Hashtag Team Cliff. He's back on the scene.
So this is probably now, his third or fourth time asking Jen out?
Yeah, and he's such a numbnut about it every time.
He is.
Every fucking time. A numbnut.
It's almost like he's asking her out for the first time every single time. Like, this is the first time he's asking her out.
So this numbnutness continues over
Hashtag numbnut.
Yeah, it continues over episode 10 and 11.
Oh, really?
And he makes a comment in 11 that I don't understand because we'll get to that.
Oh, right, because episode 11 is the Friday the 13th
yeah, he references
thing, and he's
it
in
being
that
their
too.
first date, and I'm like,
does he really?
5 times.
It's their first date. That's what he says.
And he was like, "Oh, I thought this would be a fun idea for a first date."
Oh, you're right. Like, he does say that.
What the fuck are you talking
They
about?
went to the dance together in the second episode.
They went to the dance together. They go out in episode 10. Dawson makes a big deal about the fact they go to the whole like carnival.
The carnival, yeah.
So in episode 11, the Friday the 13th episode, it's at least their third date. Minimum third date.
I feel like the dance was their, to the viewers, I'm sure it was their first date.
It was a date.
I felt like there was something else happened in between episode 2 and episode 10. Right?
Oh, yeah, because there was like he cast her as a cheerleader in his film. That's not really a date, but they were definitely like hanging out.
Yeah.
Like every time they do something together, he acts like it's a big deal first time, and I'm like, the two of them have had like a on again, off again, casual dating scenario for months now. Like,
I feel like
stop acting like it's new.
I feel like the writers and producers must have really, really liked Scott Foley, like him as an actor, that they kept giving him his role as like they kept casting him as Cliff, but it's almost like they forgot what Cliff did in the other episodes.
Yeah, he's like a different Cliff every time.
Yeah.
It's weird.
He has like multiple personality disorder.
Yeah.
So Cliff's back. He's asking Jen out on their second date, in which they go to the fair. And this is the episode where, I feel like the major theme between Jen and Dawson is this idea of being able to be friends after you break up.
Yeah, so she asked to be friends, and he was like, well, I don't know, I have to think about it. And then Pacey is like, you know what you gotta do?
The easiest way to get back with her
is act like you don't care.
And that being friends is like cool.
Kind of true.
Yeah, it's good. But this is another like perfect example of Pacey being the like level-headed, smart, like mature voice.
Yeah, he's like, you gotta quit being such a pussy.
Yeah,
and if you want her back, like you don't give a fuck.
Pacey's character is the like I'm having a hard time describing it because he does this with Dawson, but he also does this with Joey too. He's everybody's like
voice of reason.
Voice of reason. Like he points out how dumb and stupid people are being and says, "This is what you're missing. How come I'm seeing this and you're not?"
Right. But he gets a reputation for like kind of being a jerk because of it.
Yeah.
When it's just like,
and then
like, brutally honest.
And then the biggest fault that they've written about Pacey's character is that he's a failure at school.
Yeah.
And that he's kind of doing it on purpose. Even his teachers pointed out, like, you know, is it this episode or is it... Yeah, no, it has to be this episode where... So, Jen and Dawson's storyline in this episode is the double date at the county fair, whatever. And then Joey and Pacey's story in this is that they're partnered up together for some science, some marine biology extra credit.
Yeah, because
Pacey's failing
science.
And at the beginning, we're not quite sure why Joey... I remember watching it. I have no recollection of this when I was in high school, but watching it this time again, I was surprised that Joey showed up as his lab partner because I was like, oh, I thought she was supposed to be kind of like the smart one in the group, like the book smart girl. So why, you know, we all know why Pacey's there, and we're led to believe that Joey's there because she's also failing, which surprised me when I saw her walk in.
Right, but we learn later that's not why she's there.
That's not why she's there.
And that's sort of the impression that I got because I thought that he was going to be paired up with some like smarty pants girl who was going to like tutor him.
Yes.
Yeah, and then it was Joey, and then she was like, oh, no, anybody but
Actually,
him.
You're right. That's what I first thought when she walked in. I'm like, oh, she's going to be his tutor.
Yeah.
But the way they wrote it, it leads the audience to believe that she's also not doing well in this class.
Well, I think that Pacey, like, assumed that. He was like, oh, why are you stuck with this punishment, too? And then later in the episode, she's like, it wasn't punishment. Like, I signed up for extra credit because I'm trying to get a scholarship. I'm trying to be, like...
Yeah.
I'm trying to do extra above and beyond.
Right.
So I signed up to, like, tutor a failing student. I just didn't realize it was going to be you.
Right. But I guess what I'm saying is that, I mean, even that idea to lead the audience in that direction, that Joey is not doing well and that Pacey assumed that was part of the script.
Yeah.
It was a part of the point that the writers are trying to make. Yeah, so that's what's going on. And this is also the first time where we get a little inkling of the... Oh, crap, you haven't... I don't even know exactly when it happens, but... Oh, man, maybe I shouldn't say anything. So in this episode, Pacey develops a crush on Joey. And it's short-lived. It's
very short-lived.
Through this episode, as far as we know.
Yeah, because they, like, spend time together.
Because they spend time together.
So his lab thing that he failed at, I don't know, they have to, like, make a snail reproduce or something. And he puts a different snail from a different cage.
A carnivorous snail.
Yeah, and because he thinks that they're going to, like, have some kind of snail menage a trois. And the snails die, and so they have to go out on a boat to...
They have to go on the creek.
Yeah, to, like, the swampy part of the creek to, like, find snails.
To replace the ones that Pacey
killed.
killed.
Pacey doesn't tie up the boat, so then they have to, like, wade through the water.
To back to their car, back to his truck or something.
Yeah, and then the only thing that Pacey has for them to change into as far as dry clothes are, like, blankets. And he gets a glimpse of Joey changing into her blanket through the rearview mirror of his truck, and then all of a sudden he's got a crush on Joey. You know why? Because he saw her boobs.
But he's seen older women boobs. He knows what boobs are.
He's a man. He just loves boobs. All men love boobs. He saw some Joey boobs, and he was like, I want to see some more Joey boobs.
Say boobs.
Boobs. Boobs.
Pretty soon they're say that word over and over again. It's going to start to lose its meaning. Boobs.
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 I mean, it doesn't have much meaning now.
That's true. Boobs. Okay. All right. So, one thing that I've started to do is I'm trying to Shazam all the songs that are played throughout these episodes. I've only started it now.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of these songs are not even recognized by Shazam. So I don't know where they're getting this music from.
I feel like there's some, like, shitty stock music that they're using.
Yeah.
Like, there's definitely some recognizable, like, 90s pop music, alternatine, whatever.
So the first song that registers on Shazam is actually in that scene where they're changing into their blankets.
Mm-hmm.
Is a song called Your Underwear, I Wanna Be by Bryan Adams. That's the only song that in this episode, that's the only song that registered on Shazam. Which, all right, maybe we'll talk about it at the end. But remind me, I want to talk about why we're hearing why the intro song and the opening credits song is what it is. Because I read and read an article on it. So Pacey's developing a crush on Joey while Dawson asks a random girl.
Yeah, so Pacey tells Dawson that if he wants to get Jen back, he needs to be indifferent. And that if she wants to be friends, he should be like, yeah, sure, I don't care. So that's what he's trying to do. So then he learns that... So Pacey convinced Dawson that he needs to be, like, pretty nonchalant about Jen if he wants to win her back. And she wants to be friends. So they get into this weird conversation... And then he's like, yeah, cool friends. What are you doing this weekend? And she's like, I think we should go there.
I broke up with you, but guess what? I have a date.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, yeah, with who? And she's like, Cliff. And we're like, oh, Cliff, of course, Cliff. Because that's the other man in her life. Oh, that and Billy.
I didn't realize how much of Cliff there was in this first season. That's a lot of Cliff.
That's a lot of Cliff.
Don't remember Cliff at all when I first watched this show.
So she's like, oh, I'm going to the carnival with Cliff. And he's like, cool. He's like, I have a date too. I'm also going to the carnival. And then he's like, maybe we should double. And she's like, do you think it's a good idea? And he's like, yeah, it's fine.
I don't have a problem with it. Do you have a problem with it? I don't have a problem with it. If you don't have a problem with it, I don't have a problem with it.
It's a terrible idea. Why would you ever... You shouldn't... I don't care if you've been broken up for 10 years. You should never go on a double date with an ex. It doesn't make sense
also
at all.
In real life, never would you find 15-year-olds who have just broken up be friends with each other that quickly.
No.
I wasn't friends with any of my exes in high school. God, I hated my ex in high school.
Yeah, because you're real butthurt about it.
Yeah, super butthurt.
You're super emotional.
And he was an asshole.
I mean, but Dawson is butthurt about it. He's just trying to, like, take Pacey's advice to, like, be cool. But he takes being cool too far, I think. But then Pacey's like, no, you gotta use this to your advantage. So now you need to get a date, an actual date, because you don't have one. So he asks some chick out.
Because that's how it always goes in TV. This is a very typical storyline where you have two people who have broken up and one seems to be moving on really quickly and the other one isn't. And so in order to kind of keep up with the Joneses type of thing, the one who's feeling like they're being left behind makes up some shit and then quickly struggles to make whatever they've said appear to be real.
Yeah. So he asks out some chick who
introduces herself early on in the show. I mean, one of the first scenes in this episode is of Pacey and Dawson in that science class that Pacey's failing.
Yeah.
And that's where that girl says, hey, Dawson. She says some really nerdy line.
Yeah. She's kind of nerdy.
Awkward. Socially awkward.
Yeah. So he asks her out. And she actually calls him out. She's like, I heard you just broke up with Jen. We probably shouldn't go out because you just broke up with Jen. And he's like, no, it's cool. And she's like, alright. She's like, I'll go out with you. Okay. And then, but he doesn't tell her, obviously, that,
that's very high school of him.
We're going on yes, I just broke up with Jen, and we're going on a double date to the county fair with Jen and Cliff. So the minute they all show up there together, she's like, hey, Dawson, what the fuck?
Excuse me.
And then he makes up some lame excuse about how he's, like, helping out Jen, or I forget what he said. Like, somebody felt awkward, and he wanted to step in, and...
Yeah, I don't remember that at all. I just watched these episodes last night. I don't remember that part.
The whole thing was weird. Ultimately, what happens is there's a lot of, like pissing contest stuff between Dawson
and Cliff.
Yeah, with like the carnival games.
Yeah.
And then it sort of blows up a little bit, and then
Dawson wins a prize, and he immediately turns to Jen to give her the prize.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, wait. What's her name's over here? I don't even remember her name.
Mary Beth.
Oh, Mary Beth.
I wrote it down. So then Dawson and Mary Beth go off, and he's like, I'm sorry, I'm being a dick. And she's like, you know what? It's cool, because I actually got a thing for Cliff.
Of course she does.
So, meanwhile...
She says the cheesiest line, too. She's like, you ever just notice how his eyes smile at you when he talks to you?
Mary Beth is a weird character. First of all, they're at a county fair on a
She's
Saturday.
wearing like a women's, like, she's wearing a Hillary Clinton suit.
Right. I noticed this too, because I was like, is she a lesbian? She's wearing a button down.
A Hillary Clinton's,
Yeah,
what do
like
you call that?
A
pantsuit.
So like on a Saturday afternoon at the county fair, the rest of them are wearing like t-shirt and jeans. And she's wearing like a button down collared shirt with a jacket. I'm like,
yeah.
What are you wearing?
She's very like, buttoned up in her attire. Although I did learn something from Mary Beth. I mean, maybe just more like she pointed this out. But so there's that awkward part where she somehow hijacks Cliff into taking the Ferris wheel ride with her.
Oh yeah, because she's like, I have a thing for Cliff, you have a thing for Jen.
Let's work together on this.
Let's just manipulate them into pairing off the way we want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're on the Ferris wheel, and you know, majority of that scene is of Dawson and Jen fighting. Mm-hmm. But then we pan over to Mary Beth and Cliff is like doing some good acting by giving the sense that he just wants to climb out of this car and not be with this girl anymore.
Yeah.
And her awkward line in that scene is like, isn't it funny how the words flammable and inflammable mean the same thing? And I was like, do they really? I had to look it up.
Do they though?
They do. Flammable obviously means something that can catch fire. And inflammable is something also that can catch... I looked it up. I Googled it.
Inflammable meant that something can't catch fire.
Let me look it up. Because I want to see what Google says, actually.
I mean, maybe
flammable.
I guess I've never read
Flammable, easily set on fire. And then if I just add an IN to the front of it. Inflammable, easily set on fire.
It's like famous and infamous.
Right.
Same thing.
Right.
I guess I'm thinking of like...
Unflammable, maybe?
Is that a word?
I don't know. Oh, you got something on there.
Quiet, Siri. Nobody asked you.
So I did learn that from Mary Beth.
She said that, and Cliff wanted to fucking climb
Cliff
right
was
out
like,
of his skin and run away.
Who cares? Like, why are you talking to me? Weird woman.
Poor Mary Beth.
Poor Mary Beth.
That's right. She's going to grow up to be like a power politician married to some other woman.
So the night at the fair did not go the way either Mary Beth or Dawson wanted to go. I don't even know what happens to Cliff and Jen. Where do they go? Where did those three people go? Don't we just kind of see when we come back to the fair, Dawson like kind of Mona Lisa smiling it on the bench?
Because Joey and Pacey show up.
Well, Joey and Pacey show up, yeah, but what happens? What those characters are just out.
They just disappear.
They just disappear.
They just disappear into the background.
Yeah, okay. I guess leading up to next was that, next we see, like, Dawson sitting on the bench, and he's, like, smiling very awkwardly, in my opinion. I'm like, what is he smiling about? He just had, like, a major fight with Jen. What does Jen argue about her going on a date with Cliff? Because Dawson says, like, you say that you want to be alone, and that's why you broke up, or that's one of the main reasons you broke up with me, and yet you immediately agree to a date with Cliff. And what is her argument? I can't remember. Jen. She's just a cock tease, man.
Oh, totally. She's a bitch. No, because I remember the minute that I was sitting alone in my room watching the show.
Not at work watching the show?
Maybe I was at work. I may have been at work. But I remember remarking, maybe under my breath, if not aloud, being like, you just said you needed alone time. Why are you on a date with Cliff? Like, what are you doing? And so I'm glad that Dawson, like, calls her out on it.
That's probably one of the smart things Dawson says. Do you have it written down what her argument was? I don't have it written down what her argument was.
Something lame. No, I don't have her argument written down.
Maybe because it was so dumb we can't remember it. Oh well, I guess regardless of her argument, I guess maybe even the writers were like, we don't have an argument back for this, and so I can't remember how they end up, how Jen and Dawson end up. I mean,
she was just like, I'm just hanging out. It's not serious. I forget what she said, but whatever it was.
Does she admit to like not being able to be independent or something? Does she admit that?
No, she does not admit that. I don't think she admits that. I think she just is like, whatever, this isn't a big deal. Like,
Probably.
I just had like a free Saturday night. Because it happens again in the next episode when he asks her out again and she's like, I'm really not trying to, well, okay, I got nothing better to do. And I'm like, Jen, you were such a fucking bitch.
Whoa. Harsh words from Victoria. Harsh criticism from Victoria.
Cliff is obviously into her, keeps trying to like come up with fun ideas to do things with her. And she's like, alright, I got nothing better to do. That's her. She says it right to his face and he's like, cool. But she also told Dawson, alright, so I think they got into it because...
Well, Dawson called her out, right?
Calls her out on it, and then he was like, "Oh, is it not because you don't want to, because actually you don't want to date, but because you weren't attracted to me and my romantic qualities?"
That probably made her go silent.
Yeah, and then I think because she's clammed up, and they were trapped on the Ferris wheel together, and then she was like, actually, Dawson, I know I said I want to be friends, but no, I don't want to be friends with you.
Okay. Yes, there you go.
So she just, like, retreated. She was like, I take it back. I don't want to be your friend because you're asking me hard questions that I don't feel like answering.
Yeah. All right.
And then Joey and Pacey show up.
And Pacey's like, yo, bro.
He's like, I want to fucking stick my tongue down Joey's throat. Do you mind? And he's like, no, yes, no.
No, yes, no.
Yes.
No.
I don't care. Do what you want.
What does he ultimately decide? No, that he doesn't want?
No, I think he says it's okay. He was like, no. Yeah.
Oh, right.
No, yeah. And then later he comes back and he was like, you know what? No, don't do it.
But then he shows up at the video store, again with his mind changed, back to being no, right? Because he's like, yo, dude, did it happen? Did you go for it? And Pacey, like... I thought at first Pacey was being an asshole, but I should know by now that Pacey is the good guy in this whole show, and that he would never lie to Dawson, especially about Joey. But he does make up a quick story about how, like, oh, sorry, dude, yeah, we kissed, and she kissed me back, and yeah, I think talking about going away for the weekend, I think this is the start of a beautiful relationship.
Yeah, it makes it a big deal.
And Dawson can easily picks up on Pacey's sarcasm. He's like, no, of course not. She rejected me, and I know why she rejected me, and I'm telling you again to your fucking stupid face, because you can't see it again still, that the reason she rejected me is because she is in love with you.
And Dawson's like,
no, I don't think that's it.
Dawson, knock, knock, anybody home? God damn it.
Is this like the biggest point of contention with you in this show so far?
Because and it's a point of contention for Pacey too, because he's like a little pissed. Like, he makes up this whole story about how they're going to like to B&B for, like, he makes a whole big show of it. He's being sarcastic. And Dawson's like, okay, I get your point. And then he gets serious and he was like, you know what? Your problem is, like, you got these two women. You've got one woman that's in love with you, and you've got the blonde woman that you're infatuated with that doesn't want you. Like, which is it going to be, the blonde or brunette? Basically, Pacey is like, you've got these two women on the hook, and you're being a dick about it. Like, you're being a weird dick about it, and
you know what I was waiting.
Just like man up and be the kind of man that either one of these women want you to be, and just follow through.
Do you know what I was waiting for Pacey to say, just to go back quickly on the script alone, or on the dialogue alone, was that he's describing both of these women, and without saying their names. You know, you have the hot the hot blonde, and you have the smart, brunette that you've known forever, and, the new girl in town and all this stuff. And he's, like, making all these, I guess comparisons about them. Mm-hmm. And he kind of brings them down to their two distinct characteristics or, things about them. Do you want the blonde or the brunette? And what I was waiting for him to say next was, do you want the Marilyn or the Jackie?
Yeah.
I was like, that would have been some smart dialogue to put in there. To then, go a step further and be like, you're obviously the Kennedy in this story here. Is it going to be Marilyn or is it going to be Jackie? Who is it going to be? But no, they didn't write that in.
Yeah.
So that's how it ends. Oh, and I think this is where I'm coming to realize that I'm Team Pacey. Hashtag Team Pacey. Based purely on the fact that he is, and I wrote it down here, he is the voice of reason. Exclamation point. In all parts of the show so far, he's the voice of reason for everybody. We haven't seen him do it with Jen, I guess because she's like the new girl and we haven't seen them spend one-on-one time together yet. So he doesn't know Jen very well enough to be her voice of reason for anything yet.
Because there was an established relationship between Dawson and Joey and Pacey before Jen shows up.
Right.
But yeah, he's definitely laying down some truth, and he lays down a lot of truth to Dawson because he sees what's happening, and he's like, Dawson, you're an idiot.
You're an idiot.
You're an idiot. Like, pick a thing and make it happen, but instead you're like floundering, and you could be
floundering and, pining over a girl who just doesn't want to be with you, dude.
Who, in my opinion, is not really worth it. I don't think Jen's worth it. She's kind of flaky, and she's got her own pile of issues, and Joey's into it. They've been best friends forever. Maybe that's part of his character yet that they haven't said outright, is that he thinks he can fix her. But he doesn't want to fix her. He's upset that she's not what he wants her to be. He has this idealized version of her in his head, and every time that he's confronted with the fact that she's not that person, he's upset with her for it. Yeah. Which is where all this conflict comes between them. And that's another reason why she broke up with him, is because she realized that he wants her to be like this perfect girl. Right. And she's not. And she's admitted that she's not. Ooh, another one. He wants a Madonna, but she's a whore. Madonna and the whore. That's every man's conflict. They want... what is it? They want the Virgin Mother. Yeah. They want the pure woman who can also get down in bed. That's every man's conflict. And when they realize that you can't have it both ways, they get upset with you and break up with you. Oh, there's something about email. There's some like rhyme that goes like, you want something in the something, but you want... That's a great rhyme. But you want something in the sheets. I know exactly. Do you know what you want to say? What is it then? I don't know what you're talking about. You don't? I thought you did. I want something, and something. What? Sorry, I've had 2 glasses of wine. I want. God, can you give me your phone? Look up something. I'm just going to look this up right now. Oh, I give up. I'm too buzzed to figure this out. I mean, that's essentially what Dawson wants from Jen, and that's an age-old man problem. Is that they want the pure, wholesome girl out in public, but then they want the freak in bed, the freak in the sheets. Yeah, and you can't always have it both ways. So that's how episode 10 ends, is with Pacey yet again telling Dawson what's up, and Dawson being like, no, you're lying. That's not true. And then episode 11 is called The Scare, and I feel like this is the type of episode where they break away from the drama lines that they're trying to build up, and they're just taking a break and having like a fun episode. Yeah. So, and it's called The Scare, and I feel like it's just a pile of very typical horror movie
things that happen, scary things that happen on like other TV shows.
Yeah, like what is the Scream is the movie that they reference a lot in this. So
what is the movie that they're watching at the very beginning? Because I don't know if you noticed that clip they're watching shows a scene of Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Oh.
In that clip.
I didn't catch that.
And so I didn't know if they made that small little clip for this show or if it's an actual real movie.
It's probably a real movie. I don't know which one.
I wouldn't be surprised if they made a movie within a TV show. Because
it was Sarah Michelle Gellar?
It was Sarah Michelle Gellar, yeah.
No, I did see that, and I thought for a hot minute that they were watching Buffy. But it wasn't Buffy. But it wasn't Buffy. So yeah, I don't know if
I'm just curious because it's not like in 1998 what was Sarah Michelle Gellar doing? Like she was probably just getting her career started though.
She was in Buffy then, right?
Buffy premiered after Dawson's Creek.
Did it?
I'm pretty sure. Look it up.
I'm going to look it up.
Because I don't remember.
Buffy was 97 to 2003. Are you sure they weren't watching Buffy?
Well, the whole idea was that they were watching horror movies, not Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And also, but also that scene that Buffy was in, or that Sarah Michelle Gellar, that they were showing of her, was her running away in fear of something. Buffy was a vampire slayer. She wouldn't be scared and screaming in horror, and she ends up getting killed. In the scene that they're watching.
I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Here's the thing. I'm a super big chicken shit, even to the dumbest horror movies. So I did not watch that movie. I didn't watch any of the screams.
But I Know What You Did Last Summer came out in 97. So it was probably a scene from I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Okay. So yeah, so maybe that was it. Does Sarah Michelle Gellar die in that movie? You've never seen that movie?
Never seen it.
Oh. I've never seen it, but that's because I hate horror movies. Yeah, all right. So we figured out that they were watching I Know What You Did Last Summer, a scene in which Sarah Michelle Gellar's character is running away and eventually gets killed in that scene or whatever.
Not Buffy like I originally thought. Would have been much cooler.
She would have been slaying some ass, not running away.
She did some running away in that. Vampires are powerful.
So this is where it leads to. So this is just kind of like the intro to the episode, is them watching this horror movie, and we find out that it's simply Friday the 13th.
I thought it was a Halloween
episode. I thought it was a Halloween episode to at first. I still kind of thought it was, even though they said it was Friday the 13th.
Like there was some kind of copyright on Halloween, so they couldn't say it, so they were just implying it. But no. It was just Friday the 13th. It was like a random
and
Friday the 13th.
And even though it's Friday the 13th, Dawson pulls out all the stops to scare everybody. Ridiculous. He's playing pranks on everyone throughout the day. He drops a rubber bloody finger in Pacey's French fries. So apparently this is one of the things that Dawson loves to do, scare his friends.
But there's also an actual serial killer.
Oh, right.
Within 100 miles of Cape Side, which is less miles than Providence.
Oh, right. Yeah. So Joey gets freaked out by the horror movie and rips the remote away and changes the channel and turns on the news. And that's where they see the story about the serial killer that the news has dubbed the Lady Killer.
Such an original name.
So,
because guess what?
So
also, serial killers are lady killers.
If I were that serial killer, I'd be so pissed at that name. I'd be like, what? God. Yeah.
Douchebag name.
So unoriginal.
The Lady Killer.
Lady Killer. Most serial killers are men. Who are they killing? Probably mostly women.
Yeah, most serial killers. I can't even say it.
Too much wine.
Serial killers are killing ladies.
So yeah, so they're watching that, and they're watching the news just like it's, Did they even make a comment on it about how close it is to Cape Side, or how close his recent victim is to Cape Side or something? Or
they must have said something like, ooh.
I guess because it's on the local Cape Side news.
Yeah,
and they were reporting on it in a different town. So they're trying to get Cape Side into hysterics over the lady killer.
So then we cut to school, and Jen's standing around. Cliff comes out of nowhere and asks her out again. And he's in a big rush, and she's like, oh, that's so abrupt. And he's like, well, I have the bell. I don't want to be late for class. Do you want to go out tonight or not? And she's like, I'm not really trying to date. And he's like, it's Friday the 13th. I'm going to come up with a good thing for us to do. And she's like, okay, well, I don't really have, my social life's pretty dead. So, okay. And he's like, great. Like, Jen.
Are you Team Cliff anymore?
I mean, if I had to choose between Cliff and Jen, what? Like,
are you saying there's major holes in the writing?
Yeah, like,
right.
We just had an episode where there was like a weird double date situation.
Weird date, yeah. Although we don't really know. I guess we could assume that Cliff realized what was happening.
He must have.
In the last episode, and therefore didn't hold that against Jen, and so asked her out again.
I mean, well, in Cliff's defense, I think he just has the hots for Jen, and he just wants to, like, get with Jen.
Yeah.
And, like, yeah, Dawson's, like, this annoying guy that's always buzzing around. But
he's like a fly.
Yeah, he's not really worried about Dawson. He just wants to get with Jen.
Yeah.
And he's just focused on getting with Jen, and Dawson is whatever.
That is true, yeah. Cliff has never really been too all concerned with Dawson.
He's never taken Dawson seriously.
Until now, right?
Ever.
Until now. Because Dawson is the one that gives him all the great ideas for Jen.
This episode. I mean, it does break from the
usual drama.
Yeah. But even when there was a few episodes ago that we discussed already, like, Jen and Dawson were fully dating. And Cliff is like, approaches Dawson. Is like, do you know where Jen is right now? And he was like, no. And he's like, well, if you see her, tell her that I'm having a party and that she's come.
She's invited.
Oh, you can come too. Also, do you know if Jen is seeing anybody? And he's like, yeah, me. And he's like, really? That's funny.
I mean, I guess that would be, maybe that is the stereotypical popular jock guy who sees anyone who's not, like, his closest best friends are just, like...
non-existent
and, like, just, like, oh, you're here? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like, maybe that's just part of his character.
Doesn't view you as being a legitimate human.
Right, yeah.
It's like, oh, you're dating? Like, how is it possible you're not a real person?
Yeah.
And how could you be dating
the person? How is Jen dating you and not me? Like, that just doesn't make sense to me.
Doesn't compute.
Yeah. So that's my point, is that this time around, he takes Dawson's advice on how to impress Jen. When previously, Dawson hasn't even been, like... a real thing, like in Cliff's aura, atmosphere, like he's like vapor.
So
a perfectly good waste of yearbook space.
He asks Jen out, and
that's a quote from a movie.
Jen's like, okay, because my social life's pretty vacant, so I'll go out with you. And
again,
and Cliff's like, awesome, I gotta go. What a fucking bitch. If I ask somebody out and they're like, yeah, I got nothing better to do, I'd be like, you know what, never mind. Like, you either want to or you don't.
Well, that's how much he likes Jen. He's just like, come on, just say yes.
So she agrees, and she's like, what are we doing? He's like, it's a surprise. I'm going to come up with a really good thing. It's going to be really fun. Oh, they have, like, a little back and forth about Dawson. And, like, oh, Dawson's fun. And he's like, oh, really? Dawson's so much fun? Because I'm fun, too. If Dawson's so much fun, then how can we work with Dawson?
Oh, my God, yeah. So this is a pretty big character shift for Cliff. Like, whereas before, Dawson didn't even register. And now, all of a sudden, he kind of sees Dawson as a threat, right?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's because he realized, oh, wait, they actually did go out. So he's like, and now I want to get this girl. They broke up. I'm going to try to get in there. So what did she see in Dawson that I could replicate, although not too much because she broke up with Dawson. So what did she see in Dawson that I shouldn't replicate? But he's actually kind of smooth about it because he does all this in like under 30 seconds and then runs out of the room because the bell's ringing. He doesn't want to be late for class. So then cut to Dawson's like antics. He's like playing scary jokes on everybody. And then Jen's all like, why are you playing
any pranks on me?
I'm not on your radar? You don't want to play pranks on me? And Dawson...
So this is...
actually following Pacey's advice, or just being a numbnut, I can't tell which, is just like, well, we broke up, so I thought that you wouldn't want me to, like, play pranks on you, because we don't know each other that well, and we used to go out, so I think playing pranks on you would be inappropriate. And she's like... no, I want to be included. It's the fun. And he's like, all right. And then that's all we hear about it.
So Dawson suggests a seance at his house because that's what you do on Friday the 13th.
If you're a 13-year-old girl.
Well, they're not too far off. They're 15, 16.
Year-old
Although
boy.
they are driving. Maybe they're 16 now. Pacey drives.
I don't think legally because he hotwired that car that they drove to the convenience
That's
store.
right. That's okay. Never mind. All right.
I think they're 15.
But what about the truck in the other episode? That one wasn't hot wired.
Yeah, they never explained that. I thought they were 15.
Yeah, but they're also sophomores in high school, so I mean it's conceivable that someone has turned 16.
Okay, but they'd never do an episode about how they like get their driver's license because that's like a rite of passage for all teenagers, and they just gloss over it.
Oh, I mean, all right. So there's no explanation about how he's driving a truck in episode 10, but yet he's hotwired his parents' car in episode 11, essentially stealing it for the night.
He stole the car.
And he justifies he's
How
justifying by saying that it's not stealing if it belongs to your family. All right, so I think this is the first time I laughed out loud because they run in, or they don't run in. They witness a couple yelling at each other, and
in like a 7-Eleven.
In a 7-Eleven, and the boyfriend of this random couple leaves, and the woman chats up the guys.
If she immediately targets. First of all, this woman again, I didn't recognize her, so I didn't look up the actress.
I didn't recognize her either.
She was definitely like 28.
In her 20s, yeah.
Yeah, and is like, hey guys.
Well, yeah,
party.
She's like, oh, do you want me to get you alcohol? Oh, I'll get you some alcohol. Here's some wine, and just stuffs it into her purse.
Yeah.
And then when they get outside, she gives the bottle of wine to Pacey. And Pacey looks at it, he goes, oh man, a Cabernet Sauvignon, my favorite.
Yeah.
That cracked me up when he said it like that.
Also, now
because I guess they're assuming that 15-year-olds don't know how to pronounce Cabernet Sauvignon.
Yeah, they don't. Also, there's like, I don't know, 6, 7 kids at this party, and they have like one bottle of wine.
Well, she can only fit one in her purse.
So this woman like manipulates her way into like getting invited to their.
Well, the boyfriend
seance.
comes back in a rage, right?
Oh yeah.
And she just like jumps in their car, and they're all freaked out by this raging boyfriend, and that's how she ends up with them. But before that, while everyone is in the convenience store, so Joey's made to stay waiting in the car because Pacey can't turn the car off because it would be hard to start again because he hot-wired it. And so Joey's like, all right, fine, whatever. And I don't know what Joey's doing, but she's looking away from the camera.
She's just like sitting in the back seat.
She's sitting in the back seat. She's fuddling with something. And she turns around, and this creepy guy is just like looking at her through the window, and it freaks her out. And so he motions for her to roll the window down. And he makes up some random excuse about how he's lost and where's the nearest train station?
No, he's trying to get to Providence.
Oh, he's trying to get to Providence.
And she's
okay.
like, well, you're like super lost because you're about 74 miles away,
which is a 10-hour bus ride.
Yeah, or a hour and a half drive. And she's like, just go down that way,
down this street, take a left, and you'll hit the highway, and then you'll be on your way. Does he say, oh, it's late? Like,
yeah,
maybe,
and then he's like, oh, I'm really tired.
Maybe I'll just get a hotel. Do you know the nearest hotel? She starts to tell him, and then Dawson walks up behind this guy.
The guy's kind of like creepy, nerdy, your stereotypical like TV serial killer. He's like being a weirdo and like staring at her, and she's just like, and she's uncomfortable, but she's smiling,
trying to be polite.
Yeah, and then Dawson's like walks up and is like, get the fuck out of here.
Is there a problem here?
Yeah, like, get out of here. And then is like, didn't your mother ever tell you not to talk to strangers? There's like a serial killer on the loose. And she's like, whatever, Dawson. You're an idiot.
He was just lost. He was just looking for
he's
directions and a place
guy.
to crash for the night.
Yeah.
This episode, like I said, uses all of the like typical horror movie quick plot lines. Like Jen gets heavy breathing phone call from a dude, and it scares her.
It was supposed to be like Scream.
Right.
So he's like implying that he's in the house with her.
Yeah.
And she like runs around her house with a knife, like looking for where he might be.
We see Gramps, who's not dead yet.
Yeah, he's still alive.
his like old man hand like falls on her because the phone on the voice on the phone says don't look under the bed, which of course she does because that's what all of the like heroines do in horror movies is they do the things that they're told not to do.
Don't go in the basement. Or
don't go upstairs.
Yeah, or like I'm really scared right now, something creepy is happening. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna take a shower.
Does that happen in a horror movie?
Yes, they always take showers. Why?
I mean, it's true, but yeah. But I feel like when that happens, it's at a moment where they think they're at peace.
They're like, oh, good, everything's done now.
Like, oh, okay, this has to be the end of it. You know what would make me feel better? A shower. But little do they know that it's not over yet. Although we don't see Jen taking a shower in this episode. I think that'd be a little bit too much for this high school drama.
She runs around the house with a knife until like Grams comes on. And he's like, what is Grams is like,
and Grams is not at all like weirded out that Jen's wielding this butcher knife. She's just like, Jen, why do you have a knife in your hand? Put it down.
Yeah, she's like, who's on the phone? And
then Jen continues to talk. Who is this?
Who is this? And Grams
she's like freaked out, and we don't see Grams.
Grams is like, whatever.
Yeah.
You're not fighting me about God, so I don't really care that there might be somebody on the phone threatening to cut your heart out. Not my problem. As long as you believe in God.
So that's that one little scene. And then Cliff comes to pick her up, and Cliff's like, she's like, oh, so what are we doing for our date, or where are we going? And he's like, oh, just about 100 yards. She's like, what's over 100 yards? Dumbass. Dawson's house.
I said, we're going to Dawson's. Dawson's having a seance. Won't that be fun?
She's like,
Cliff,
oh, really?
Knock, knock, knock. Anybody home? Why would you bring again?
They didn't address this, but do you think that was Dawson's manipulation?
I mean,
he seemed too overly excited about this night and the fact that it's Friday the 13th and playing pranks on his friends to care about what Jen was doing.
Yeah, but it was weird and it was awkward because just in the last episode we had a date where Cliff is trying to go with Jen, and here is Dawson and some poor woman in a pantsuit, and like just mucking things up. And so then he manages again to get Jen to go out with him. And Jen is like kind of like on the fence. She's like, I don't really think I should. And he's like, come on, please. And she's like, okay, fine. And what does he do? He plans another date where Dawson is going to be there. Like, if he is really trying to win her over and get her, like, don't you think he would remove Dawson from the picture?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I've ever taken a guy that I'm trying to get with around my ex ever, and especially not twice, especially when the first time blew up in my face
back to back,
and yeah, like the following weekend, let's try it again. Like, if you're really trying to get with her, like, get her far away from him, come up with something on your own. But no, he marches her right over to Dawson's house because he's having a seance
he's
party.
Like, doesn't that sound killer? He says some really like goofy, doofy line. Oh, do you know what's also weird? Whenever of course there's no like cursing on this show, but they call everybody a puke. Have you noticed that?
No.
Like in the, what episode was it last episode? No. So the first episode where we meet Warren the jock, and Joey is telling Abby about their relationship. Like, she's trying to spread the rumor that she's pregnant, and Abby is like, "Oh my God, I can't believe he got you pregnant, and he's not stepping up. He's not manning up. What a puke! What a puke!" Oh. And then in this episode, the random girl who's fighting with her boyfriend, she is inside boyfriend leaves convenience store. Girlfriend like sticks her head out the convenience store door and says, "You're a puke! You're a puke! I hate you!" Blah blah blah. Like, she's saying, like, so they're not using words like "you're a bastard" or or "you're
an asshole" or a dick or a prick.
I mean, they can't say any of those words because it's network television.
So puke is the best.
So puke is what the writers came up with, which I've never heard that ever in my life.
No, me neither.
Like, I've never ever heard someone call someone else a puke, and I've never used it myself. I can't remember what I thought back in the day. Like, if I thought that was weird, I can imagine that I did, because as a 15-year-old watching this show about other 15-year-olds, that was not a word that we used. I mean, I was cursing when I was 15, So I was certainly calling ex-boyfriends assholes and dicks and pricks and stuff, but never a puke.
I guess it's the best they could come up with.
Yeah.
And just that became their
like they knew that would pass censorship rules.
This became their blanket curse word.
Yeah. Puke. It was just so weird to me. All right. So they have this little seance. They start to freak out. Are they all playing pranks on each other? Or is it everyone getting pranked by Dawson?
No, Dawson's just pranking everybody.
Dawson's pranking everybody. At one point, though, they all team up and prank Dawson because Joey falls out of the closet acting like she's been stabbed in the chest.
So the phone call that Jen gets where she's like freaked out, that legitimately freaked her out, she decides it's Dawson and she confronts him on it like several times and he's like, that wasn't me.
Swear to God, it wasn't me. Swear to God.
I swear it wasn't me.
Like Shaggy. It wasn't me.
And she just keeps on him throughout the whole episode. And she finally corners him, and he's like pissed at this point. He's like, Jen, fucking told you. It wasn't me. I swear it wasn't me. And she was like, huh. And then she follows him upstairs, and she was like, promise it wasn't you. And he was like, it wasn't me. And she's like, swear to God. And he's like, you don't believe in God. And he was like, Jen, it wasn't me. Like,
is that the moment where they have a moment?
Yes.
Did they kiss? I just watched these shows last night and I can't remember.
Face moment.
Yeah, I remember that part.
And he leans in and then she's like, no,
oh, okay,
shouldn't do this. And he was like, get the fuck out, fucking bitch.
How Dawson is not over this yet, I don't know. I mean, she's just
terrible.
Yeah, she's just
terrible.
Cock teasing it like she's a pro.
She confronted him like, oh, was this your idea? For
the phone call for the prank, you're doing what I asked you to do,
and he was like, no, I didn't do it. And she's like, well, did she ask if he asked Cliff to come over? And
I feel like Cliff just admitted it to her.
Yeah, he said something like, oh, I asked Dawson like what you liked.
Yeah, what you liked. Yeah,
and he said you like to be scared, and so and Dawson was having his party, so I asked if we.
So
could
I'm the
come.
one that left you the note in your locker. I'm the one who gave you the call at your house. And Jen. She certainly wasn't impressed, and I guess she was a little upset.
Yeah, but then she's still he walked her home, and then he was like. She was like, you know what, I'm really not looking for a boyfriend right now. And he was like, okay, but can I still kiss you goodnight?
Yeah.
I mean...
Oh, and...
Cliff is in it to win it.
You know who also is hashtag Team Cliff? Do you know who is also hashtag Team Cliff?
Mary Beth?
Grams.
Oh, yeah.
So Grams is all about the Clifford.
Yeah.
For her, it'd be hashtag Team Clifford. That's a nice young man. He's a nice young man. Oh, you take your time out here on the front porch while you're kissing my granddaughter, or attempting to kiss her. Oh, it's okay if you kiss Cliff,
but not Dawson.
Dawson. And yet we have no idea about Cliff's family or home life or anything.
Well, he's got that leather jacket on.
That must mean that you come from a wholesome family whose mother and father are still together, who go to church every Sunday.
Yes, you're from good stock. You're a good basic bro. Mm-hmm. And that's what every grandma wants for her granddaughter. But if you're some film buff whose mom is banging a local TV anchor, then you must be trash.
Oh, we forgot to mention that Dawson's parents appear briefly in episode 11. We see them kind of looking like they're mending their marriage.
Yeah, they're trying.
Although they do fight in the very beginning because Bob calls the house.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I recognize that voice. Is that so-and-so? And Gail's like, no, it wasn't. And he's like, was it him? He has the nerve to call this house? True.
Yeah.
He has a point.
He definitely has a point. And she's like, it was work-related. I'm like, but you guys banged, and now you're calling the house, and when her husband answers, you're like, is she there?
Yeah.
What? What are you doing?
And then we see poor Mitch, poor Dawson's dad, just getting nervous about people who are calling the house, roping Dawson into it.
So that is a legitimate, at least from my perspective, subplot theme that they just barely touched upon. Because Mitch, Dawson's dad, comes in and asks Dawson, does anybody call when I'm out? And
he's in a suit and tie. Do we know where he's going?
To work.
Oh, okay.
Doesn't he work?
I don't know.
We don't know what his job is.
I don't know what his job is.
But presumably, like, while he was away, comes back, he asks Dawson if anybody calls, and Dawson's like, no. And he's like, anybody, you know, important called, anybody, and Dawson's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, when anybody calls for you,
I write it down.
Yeah, I leave a note for you on the pad. And he was like, I'm not asking if anybody called for me. I'm asking if anybody called. And Dawson was like, oh no, he didn't call the house. But it was a theme in which parents who are going through, you know, a divorce or even marital
separation.
Troubles. Yeah, and they put their children in the middle of it. And that, I think, is a bigger theme than any of the other weird stuff that they've touched upon in this show.
As far as the parents are concerned?
Yeah, or as far as, like, if you're going to have, like, a teen drama that's going to, like, relate to teens and help teens, like, deal with real-life issues.
Right, yeah.
Like, the weird pregnancy rumor stuff in episode 10 makes no sense to me, the way that they dealt with that, because I don't think that's how it happens in reality. But the parents putting their children in the middle of their own marital dramas is a real thing, and they brought it up, and then, I mean, maybe it'll get revisited again.
Yeah, maybe. But
they just sort of, like, barely, like, they tapped it and then walked away from it. And I'm like, that's, I think, more of a thing that you should address than Dawson being a weirdo about.
Well, yes, I agree. But I also think that they're writing this show... I mean, they're writing it for teenagers, so touching upon that is going to relate to teenagers who are dealing with parents who are going through that.
Which is like...
But at the same time, they are writing a fictional story. And so what could also be relatable is that these kids who are dealing with that actual issue in real life maybe just want to watch this show to escape a little bit from whatever their parents are putting them in the middle of in real life, you know?
Yeah.
And maybe also, in just touching on it a little bit, maybe kids who were watching it back then, or maybe if they're actual teenagers who can watch this show now and relate to it, can also know that they're not alone.
Right.
But still just be able to escape a little bit into this teen drama TV show. So I mean, there's not really a whole lot to talk about in episode 11 because, like I said, it's a break episode where they just get away with all the normal plot lines, have this kind of fun episode where everybody just scares everybody.
But there's the adult woman that they bring in.
That they pick up?
Yeah, and they bring back to the party. Her name is Ursula. And she's a little creepy. And she tries to scare them a little bit. But she also, even though she's weird, it sort of acts as a voice of wisdom because she calls Dawson out. And she's like, oh, I've got extra...
Oh, yes!
She tries to say extra sensory perception, but she's like... She says something ridiculous. And she's like, for instance, I can tell that your ex is here. But I can also tell that there's, like, good chemistry between you and that everything's going to be fine. And she's talking about Joey.
Yeah.
And he's like, you've been playing pranks on her all night. And he's like, what are you talking about? I haven't played any pranks on Jen. Jen is my ex. And she was like, no, Joey.
Yeah.
Like, Joey is the one that loves you.
So further proves that Dawson's an idiot because even a stranger...
A complete stranger. A crazy 29-year-old woman who's crashing a teenage party is like...
Can tell that the girl is in love with you. And whether or not you know it, you're in love with her too.
Her boyfriend shows up, terrorizes all of them, busts open some windows, breaks
tries
down
to break
some walls,
in,
runs all over the place. Also, I want to... Where are Dawson's parents while this is happening? He's having a seance and he's being terrorized by like 20-year-olds.
I know, we didn't get any excuses as to why they're not around. Because every other time where the kids have had the house to themselves, we've at least been told like they're going away for the weekend or, you know, they're going to be out all night. But we don't know what happens or what the parents are doing on this particular evening. So that's right. So strange woman even points out to Dawson that Joey's in love with him. We also find that Dawson and Joey are back up in his bedroom. Is this like the next night or is it the same night or what? So they're watching TV again in his room
Yeah, and they're watching the news.
They're watching the news.
The lady killer, the real threat of this show, is the actual serial killer that's running around.
He's caught.
And it's
the guy that was talking to Joey at the convenience store.
The creepy guy.
The creepy guy. And that's how that episode ends, is them like both looking at each other being like, holy shit, that guy was trying to murder you. And then that's where like they talk about what they would each do if either one of them died. And Joey and Dawson's like, it's the worst possible thing he could imagine, Joey dying. And of course she interprets that as like, oh, he's in love with me. She gets these like googly eyes a little bit.
That was a weird scene too, because yeah, he was like, I would be upset if you died, and you know, he's like, would you be upset if I died? And I'm like, even if you guys aren't in love with each other, like I would be upset if you died.
I would too.
I'm not in love with you. I'm sorry, Melissa.
What?
But
rude.
They're friends. And they're like, would you be upset if, like you have to be madly in
love. Like for someone that you've known your entire life.
Yeah, even if you're not in love with them, you would still be upset if they died.
Yeah.
You'd still like cry. You
Yeah.
would just be like, whatever, well, I wasn't in love with her, so it doesn't matter that she's dead. What is this conversation? It's a big deal when someone dies.
What are they going to say to each other? Yeah, I'd be alright if you died. No big deal.
It was a weird conversation. I think it was their own weird way of like trying to express their feelings for each other.
Saying, I love you too.
Yeah, even though Dawson is in denial.
Dawson is in denial. Alright, Victoria, are you excited? Because the next episode are the last 2 episodes of season 1. We're almost through 1 season.
Really?
Yes. Season 1 was only 13 episodes.
Alright.
It's a short season.
How many episodes are the rest of the seasons?
So the longest...
Like 23?
The longest season is 24 episodes.
God damn it. Okay.
All right. So yeah, I'm almost done with season 1. It's exciting.
What will happen next?
Dun dun dun.